You embarrass Aaron every time you open your mouth. Those words came from Margaret, my mother-in-law, as she stood across the kitchen table pointing a finger at me. Aaron was sitting right beside her, staring down at his phone as if he couldn't hear what was being said. I froze. My hands were shaking because I had just spent hours cooking a dinner I thought would bring us closer. Margaret had arrived with her usual sharp eyes, walking around the house like she was inspecting a place she owned. And now, here she was, telling me to my face that I was humiliating her son simply for trying to be myself. Aaron, I whispered, are you going to say something? He didn't. He just sat there, scrolling, like if he ignored it long enough the whole moment would pass. That's when I realized it wasn't just Margaret attacking me. It was Aaron's silence joining her. When I first met Aaron, it was nothing like this. He made me laugh until my cheeks hurt. He asked about my dreams, my plans, the kind of life I wanted to build. And when he proposed, I thought I'd found my safe place in the world. But the day we got engaged, Margaret's shadow began to spread. She criticized the venue I picked, said the dress I loved made me look wider than I am. She even told Aaron privately that if he went through with a non-traditional ceremony, he'd regret it for the rest of his life. I tried so hard to keep peace. I told myself, she's just excited, it'll calm down after the wedding. But it didn't calm down. It grew sharper. When it was time to buy a home, I wanted it to be our moment, just me and Aaron choosing a place together. But Margaret insisted on joining every tour. At one house, I fell in love with the little garden in the back. I told Aaron, I can imagine sitting out here every morning with coffee. Margaret stood behind me and said, this garden will be too much work. She'll never keep up with it. Aaron's response, he nodded. He nodded as if she knew me better than I knew myself. House after house, she disapproved. And house after house, Aaron followed her lead. When we finally closed on the house, it wasn't one I picked. It was one she approved. I moved in, but it never felt like mine. It felt like I was living in something Margaret had chosen, and I was just a guest. The worst wound came after my father passed away. My family gathered at our home to grieve together. It was a night of pain, but being surrounded by my loved ones gave me comfort. Then Margaret called Aaron. I could hear her voice on speaker. It's irresponsible to have that many people inside. Your health matters too. Minutes later, Aaron walked into the living room, glanced around at my family, and said, I think everyone should go. It's not safe right now. I stared at him, unable to process what I was hearing. My father was gone. My mother was fragile. My siblings were broken. And my husband, the man who promised to stand by me, was siding with Margaret instead of standing with me. That night, after everyone left, I sat on the bathroom floor and cried until my body hurt. Aaron stood outside the door and knocked once, maybe twice, but he never came inside. The pattern never stopped. If I wanted to plan a vacation, Margaret would say, it's too much money. You should be smarter with finances. Aaron would repeat it to me later as if it was his own thought. If I wanted to host a small dinner with friends, Margaret would say, she doesn't need to wear herself out pretending she's a hostess. And suddenly Aaron would tell me I was taking on too much. It was like living with two voices. Mine, that longed for freedom and love, and Margaret's, echoed through Aaron's mouth, shutting me down at every turn. The fights grew louder. One night, after another long day, I brought up the idea of visiting my mom for the weekend. Aaron's face darkened immediately. My mom doesn't think you should keep running back to your family whenever things get hard. I felt my blood boil. Running back? My father is dead, Aaron. My mom is alone. I'm her daughter. That's not running back. That's being there for her. His voice rose. You're making me choose between you and her. Why do you keep doing that? I snapped back, louder than I've ever been. No, Aaron. She's making you choose. And every single time, you choose her. The silence after that was heavy, but for the first time, I didn't back down. And then there were the humiliations. At my birthday dinner, Margaret leaned across the table and said, maybe you should skip dessert tonight. You don't want to put on more weight, do you? I froze. The cake was sitting right in front of me. Everyone laughed nervously, but no one defended me. Not even Aaron. He just cut himself a slice and kept eating. I smiled weakly, pretending it didn't sting, but inside I wanted to run out of the restaurant and never come back. Later that night, when I asked Aaron why he didn't stand up for me, he said, she didn't mean it like that. You're too sensitive. Too sensitive. That was always his excuse. I don't even know when I stopped loving Aaron. Maybe it was the night he told my grieving family to leave. Maybe it was when he let his mother call me an embarrassment in my own kitchen. Or maybe it was just 1,000 little cuts that piled up until I couldn't feel anything anymore. Now, at night, when I lie awake, I don't picture our future together. I picture what my life might look like without Margaret's voice in every corner, without Aaron's silence hanging heavy between us. For the first time, leaving doesn't scare me. It feels like breathing after holding my lungs shut for years. So maybe I'm not asking if I'm wrong for wanting to leave. Maybe I'm asking if I'm wrong for wanting my life back. Yesterday changed everything. It started in the middle of the afternoon while I was still at work. My phone buzzed, and when I glanced down, I saw Margaret's name light up the screen. At first, I thought it would be something small, maybe another comment about the house, or a suggestion I never asked for. But when I opened it, my stomach sank. It wasn't a short note. It was paragraphs. Long, winding paragraphs where she laid out what she thought of me, and it wasn't pretty. She said she was worried about me. She claimed I was making Aaron unhappy. happy, that I had taken too much control, and that his spark had dimmed ever since he married me. She painted herself as this concerned, selfless mother just trying to rescue her son. And then, at the very end, she wrote the line that made my chest tighten until I could barely breathe. "I think it's time you step aside and let Aaron be with someone who fits our family better." She wasn't hinting anymore. She wasn't being subtle. She was telling me to get out of my own marriage. By the time Aaron came home, my hands were still shaking. I showed him the message, my voice unsteady but firm. I thought, surely he'll be horrified. Surely he'll be on my side this time. Instead, he frowned and said quietly, "She's just protective. You know how she is." I stared at him. Protective? She had literally told me to leave him. So I asked him point blank, "Do you agree with her? Do you think I should step aside?" He didn't answer. Not immediately. He just sat there, staring at the floor, lips pressed tightly together. That silence felt louder than any scream. And in that silence, I realized I already had my answer. Later that night, my mom called. Her voice was sharp, angry, but also heavy with sadness. She said Margaret had messaged her on Facebook. A long, manipulative note about how I was isolating Aaron, how I was too demanding, and how she worried about his well-being. Margaret wrote as if I were some villain holding Aaron captive, as if he were too fragile to live his own life. I could hear my mom's anger trembling through the phone. But then she paused, and her tone softened. "Honey," she said, "I think she's trying to push you out completely." Hearing it out loud shattered something in me. It wasn't paranoia. It wasn't me overreacting. Margaret was actively rewriting the story of my marriage, painting me as the problem, while Aaron stood silently on her side of the line. The next morning, I tried to talk to Aaron again. I told him how deeply those messages cut me, how humiliated I felt that she'd even reached out to my mother. Instead of comforting me, his face hardened. "You're making this bigger than it is," he said. "If you just get along with her, things would be easier." I snapped. "Get along with her? She told me to leave you, Aaron. She literally asked me to step out of your life. And you're sitting here telling me I'm the problem?" We fought for hours. My voice broke more than once, but his never wavered. Every excuse, every justification, it was always about her. "She's worried about me. She doesn't mean it that way. She just loves me too much." I felt myself unraveling. The man I married wasn't even in the room anymore. It was Margaret's words in his mouth, Margaret's shadow between us. At one point, I asked him quietly, almost whispering, "Do you even love me anymore?" His eyes darted away. And once again, silence. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat in the living room, scrolling through apartment listings, tears blurring my vision. For the first time, I wasn't just imagining leaving. I was planning it. I thought about my father, about how proud he was the day I got married. I thought about my mom, who deserved to see her daughter treated with respect. And then I thought about myself, the girl who once dreamed of a marriage filled with laughter and love. That girl deserved better than this. By the time the sun came up, I knew my decision. This morning, I told Aaron I was leaving. His face went pale. He begged me to just give it more time, said his mother would come around eventually. But I wasn't crying this time. I wasn't shaking. My voice was steady when I said, "I've already given her years of my life. I'm not giving her the rest of it." I packed a suitcase. I didn't take much, just clothes, important documents, and a few things that mattered to me. When I walked out the door, Margaret was on the phone with him. I could hear her voice through the speaker, sharp, demanding, triumphant. And for the first time, I didn't care. I drove to my mom's house. When I stepped inside, she hugged me so tightly I could barely breathe. And for the first time in a long time, I felt safe. I don't know what comes next. Divorce papers, probably. A lot of tears, a lot of rebuilding. But when I lay down tonight in my old bedroom at my mom's, I know one thing. The air feels lighter. I can breathe without Margaret's shadow pressing down on me.
You are not the AITA here. Margaret has been running your marriage like a hostile takeover, and Aaron has acted less like a husband and more like her spokesperson. Boundaries weren't just crossed, they were bulldozed. You tried diplomacy, patience, and compromise, but every time, you were left standing alone while he nodded along with her commentary. Wanting to reclaim your peace isn't selfish, it's survival. My suggestion? Keep walking forward without guilt, because leaving someone who refuses to defend you isn't abandonment, it's graduation from emotional captivity. And honestly, if Margaret wants so much control, she can go ahead and marry Aaron herself. Before we jump into the next story, don't forget to like and subscribe, and let us know your favorite part in the comments.
Story 2.
My name is Marin. I'm 16, and I live with my mom, my stepdad, and my older brother, Jonah, who just turned 19. Life in our house has never felt calm. Mom and I clash constantly, and when she's upset, her words cut deep. She doesn't hit, but she knows exactly how to humiliate me in front of Jonah or our stepdad. She'll laugh at my clothes, call me lazy, or tell me no one will ever want to deal with me when I'm older. My stepdad tries to keep the peace, but most of the time, he just leaves the room instead of stepping in. Jonah and I used to be distant. When we were younger, he stayed in his room, blasting music, and barely talked to me. Sometimes I thought he didn't even notice I existed. But over the last year, things changed. We started talking late at night, after Mom went to bed. He told me stories from school, let me vent about friends, and even started helping me with homework when I got stuck. For the first time, I felt like I had someone in this house who was really on my side. That's why what's happening now hurts so much. Jonah has been talking about moving out. He says he's tired of Mom's moods, tired of pretending everything's fine, tired of walking on eggshells every single day. And part of me understands. Of course I do. He's older, he has a job, and he's been saving money. He deserves to start his own life somewhere quiet and safe. But when he talks about leaving, I feel this knot in my stomach. Because if he goes, it's just me left behind. The other night, I tried to tell him how I felt. I asked, do you ever think about how it'll be for me if you're gone? He paused, then said softly, Marin, you'll be okay. You're stronger than you think. I wanted to believe him, but I didn't. Because the truth is, I don't feel strong. I feel like he's the only buffer I have between me and Mom's storms. Yesterday, the tension finally boiled over. Mom was in one of her moods and started scolding me about my grades in front of Jonah. Normally, Jonah stays quiet, but this time he stepped in. He said, Mom, you need to stop treating her like this. She turned on him instantly. Her face hardened, and she told him if he didn't like how she ran her house, he could pack his things and get out. Jonah didn't yell back. He just looked at me, then quietly went to his room. Later that night, he told me he's moving out sooner than he planned. I nodded, but inside, I felt my chest ache. Because even though I'm proud of him for standing up, I can't stop thinking that his leaving means I'll face all of this alone. I don't want him to stay trapped here, just for me. But I also can't stop feeling scared and a little angry that he gets to leave while I still have 2 more years left in this house. So now I'm stuck wondering, am I wrong for feeling this way? Am I selfish for wishing my brother could stay, even though I know escaping is the best thing for him?
You are not the AITA here. You're a teenager stuck in a household where the emotional climate feels like a thunderstorm that never fully passes, and your brother has been the one umbrella shielding you from the worst of it. Wanting him to stay isn't selfish, it's human. It doesn't mean you begrudge him freedom, it just means you dread facing the storms without backup. My insight? It's okay to hold 2 truths at once, pride in Jonah for leaving and grief that his absence leaves you exposed. My suggestion? Let yourself feel both without guilt, and maybe even use humor as armor. Tell him he's contractually obligated to answer every late-night text, even if he's eating pizza in his new apartment. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Got a story to share? Drop it in the comments and let us know which one was your favorite. If you enjoyed this video, you'll definitely want to check out AITA for refusing to help my cousin. Click here to watch it now.